Hello everyone and welcome to Conexxus365 this week. We're talking about how Edge and IoT can unleash innovation in the food service industry. I'm your host, Emily Ford. I'm the standards coordinator at Conexxus, and your moderator today is going to be Kristen Call, America's IoT specialist at Intel. Before I hand things off to her, I just have a few quick pieces of housekeeping. So first of all, next slide, please. This webinar is being recorded and is going to be made available on Conexxus365.org. Please go ahead and get your questions in directly through the GoToWebinar interface. So there's no need to wait to get those in until the very end. Also keep in mind that some of our webinars qualify for PCI continuing education credits. Next slide, please. This is the slide our lawyers make us put in. Conexxus does not endorse any products or services that may be described or mentioned in this presentation. I'd like to take a moment on the next slide to thank our 2021 Diamond sponsors. We really appreciate the extra support this year and everything you're doing to help us support work on behalf of our industry. So speaking of the work that we're doing, on the next slide. Conexxus is an independent nonprofit technology organization, and for us, our members really do the heavy lifting. We provide a neutral forum where retailers and vendors can come together and network and work on standards and solutions that are beneficial to the industry. We also provide education through white papers and events like this one, and we advocate with other organizations on a technical level to make sure that the conversations around standards aren't negatively impacting your business. So on the next slide, Conexxus365 is our weekly education subscription series. We offer free content events like this one, but we also offer through our full subscription platform for $9.95 a month, many more events. So please consider checking that out. And on the next slide, also please contact us. We would love to hear from you either on LinkedIn or through any of these platforms. And without any further ado, I'd like to hand it off to Kristen at Intel.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome. I'm Kristen Call, and I will be your moderator. I think we go to the next slide. Yep. So today we're going to be talking about how Edge and IoT can unleash innovation with food service industry with Hauke Feddersen, Sandeep Kamat, and our very own, or Conexxus's very own, Gray Taylor. A little bit about our speakers. Hauke is a director of global operations with Pressitaste Group. Since 2004, Hauke has been focused on the digitalization of analog companies. And after 6 years of managing software projects for multi-channel retailers, Auto Group, he has spent 7 years managing a chocolate factory, investing heavily into robotics and process automation. At Pressitaste, his role as Global Director of Operations includes bringing Vision AI automation to 6 of the top 10 QSR companies. And seeing intelligence waking up and being blown away by the capabilities, that's what really drives him. And I'm excited to have him here today. Sandeep, his role at HP, he is responsible for leading HP's products and solutions strategy in retail with Advanced Compute Solutions Business Unit. His current focus is on retail use cases in edge analytics, IoT, AI, and other growth initiatives. He spent 20 years, he has over 20 years experience in product management and development with leadership roles working on industry-leading products, applications and services including mobile OSs, smartphones, speech technologies, and IoT devices. And I don't need to do an introduction to Gray, but he's joining us today and he will be sharing his thoughts in the Q&A session. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hauke.
Thank you, Kristen. My name is Hauke, and I'm honored to be and happy to be here to present 2 digital management solutions for the modern C-store to you. The company I'm representing has been building vision AI systems for the food industry since 2012, Pressitaste. And today we've deployed AI management solutions to over 1,000 locations in Europe and the US in retail and quick service restaurants, QSR. I want to be upfront with you. This technology is not yet deployed to the C-store, as far as I know. We are working with the biggest QSR, with the biggest quick service restaurants on the planet, and one of the largest retail chains as well. The problem presented to me by Gray in several conversations sits right at the intersection of these two fields, retail and restaurants. How to achieve great food quality and a delicious variety with the least amount of labor required. We offer professional task management in the food preparation, from frying to cooking to baking, that is based on what do I need to do right now. We want to become a part of your growth strategy for food operations, independent of whether you want to ramp up your service offering or drive KPIs like freshness or labor intensity. If you talk to restaurant managers and ask them what changed since our system was integrated into their operations, more often than not, they'll tell you it got a lot quieter than before, because we install screens that tell each member of the crew what to do in what instance. It's all based on several pieces of artificial intelligence, from sensing, vision AI, to calculating and cracking the mathematical problem that is production planning. It all starts with a very good forecast for the next 2 weeks that we then overlay with what we see in the restaurant right now. Walking into your store is not a person, but a demand for fresh food, a certain demand. At certain times, this demand varies. So we have the demand side, and then we have the supply side as well. Sensors see each piece of inventory that you have in your kitchen or in your shelves. We track the inventory and we know freshness for each single piece. We also track work in progress inventory. And based on these two input factors together, we direct your crew with what to do right now, not based on customer orders, but predicted demand as well as customer orders. So if somebody orders something special, it's brought into this screen next to everything that is needed to supply the anticipated demand. Why are we doing this in the QSR space? It drives sales through availability of product, and it eliminates the food waste, all while reducing labor and making it easier to work with the already complicated process. Food waste is something very, very special and dear to my heart, because the food industry alone is the third largest contributor to climate change emitting gases on the planet. If we are to crack down on food waste as a society, it will be like all of us driving EVs all of a sudden. This is the simplified graphic for the C-store environment. We have the sensors that monitor your inventory, back of the house as well as front of the house. We have sensors that overlay the current demand with the anticipated demand for this specific point of time. And I do know that most operations are 24/7 operations with huge demand spikes on one side and demand and low demand times at other times. And all of that is overlaid into one single screen presented to the crew on what to do right now, what is required to supply the demand of the next 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on the hold time for each individual item. The result is, if you've watched the movie The Founder with that describes the early years of Ray Kroc as the CEO of McDonald's, turning it into the largest franchisee operation on the planet. You see the McDonald brothers, and they describe a process they call the symphony, when everything happens in harmony, when there is no motion that overlaps, when there is nothing that stops the production process. This symphony is what we try to achieve and lift to the next level with Vision AI management of the processes. For us, the main interruptions to business are stockouts, because they most likely end up in a loss of revenue, and food waste, as discussed a second ago. All of this must happen with the least amount of people required. A key ingredient to live inventory understanding is the sensing aspect of it. Sensors see all the inventory, as you can see down here, and they put a timer on each single piece of inventory and track how your demand is in relation to what the anticipated demand is, and then perfect the product planning for right now. 10 years ago, Vision AI was something very futuristic. It was slow, it was expensive, it was error-prone. But a lot has changed since then, since a lot of companies, Intel at the head, have invested a ton into making sure that we have AI running on low-cost hardware in restaurants right now. In restaurant means on the edge. That means there is no reliance on the cloud. There is no necessity to be online. Online, of course, helps to download new models, to download updates to the software running the operations, and to upload user statistics, etc. But it's not required. Everything that we present to you today runs in the store or retail or a restaurant environment where it's being placed in. So if there is clouds covering the cloud, if your satellite connection isn't working, if you are not connected to the internet for a brief while, the system will not stop to work, it will continue to work. All the data that is generated by these sensors can be used for other subsequent systems. Think about digital menu boards that change when fresh croissants are about to come out of the oven, or items that are running low on stock and hence are taken off digital menu boards, guiding the customer to make the best buying decisions. Inventory management systems turn live production into a math problem, because we now have all the input factors. We know with very high certainty what will be ordered soon, and we know exactly what is available. So it's a calculation that only has what do we need right now as a missing piece in between. This missing piece in between does not just have to be production management. It can also be a system that helps you optimize quality with absolutely no customer crew training. This is our virtual baker system that we have integrated into 5 world-leading brands of commercial ovens. It's a Vision AI sensing unit, you see it up there, that senses inventory as you put it into the oven and automatically picks the right baking program. It tells the crew if they made combinations that are incorrect, for example, mixing croissants with pizza or with pizza snacks that might change the flavor of one, or that might require different baking temperatures. It's a piece of equipment that is intelligent enough to be able to run without any training at all. It tells your crew what to put in when, based on the demand management, and then it picks the right program. And this software piece comes with a hardware kit that is integrated into leading brands of commercial ovens already. And it works on all products, not just baked products. It can work on snack items as well. Here are a few other examples of how Vision AI looks in the field. All our customer relations are very dear to us and all are protected under NDAs, but there's a few images that I can show you of inventory being tracked in hot holding environments, of products being tracked while they are being prepared. This also has a quality verification element to it, and of products that are being counted and that are being digitally assessed for quality as well. How it works. Everything works in the store, in the restaurant, in the kitchen itself. So the AI is running on the edge. We use ordinary security cameras or our own robust version of security cameras for environments that are challenging from a temperature or humidity point of view. And we analyze those video feeds to detect and put a bounding box around every single piece. And the result is the production planning at the end that tells your crew exactly what to do and when. And thanks to the modern computing that we have, this runs on very inexpensive pieces of hardware. It can run on servers as well as on small edge devices like these, capable of running many live parallel AI video streams. So the possibilities of artificial intelligence, the ability to take an element of your best general manager, of your best restaurant manager, and upload that into a software piece and use it to manage food preparation is ripe. It's there. It's been tested in the QSR space. It has been tested and validated in the retail space, and it is meant to drive quality, to drive sales, all while cutting down on labor and food cost, especially going to waste. It's not just for quality management, it's a managing system that makes decisions and guides your crew to deliver a better quality to your customers, and to make sure that your food operations and your goals will thrive and will scale. And I'm looking forward to discuss more about solutions like this in the Q&A part of this segment. But before that, I would like to hand over to Sandeep Kamat from Hewlett Packard.
Thank you, Hauke, for describing the problem space and the variety of use cases we could enable. I'm going to talk about accelerating edge deployments in the food services from the point of accelerating these solutions with some enablers, some components, some end-to-end solutions, and really make sure that the ISVs like Precites that we just heard from don't have to spend a lot of time in wiring and plumbing each system at each store. So I'm going to take that view from HP's angle. Diving into the industry problems that we talked about, let's take a holistic view of what's happening in the store, like either a retail store or as a QSR, quick serve restaurant, or a food and beverage place. For a while now, for a few years, we know this space has been under a lot of transformation. There is competition from e-commerce, there is buy online, pick up in the store, or cloud kitchens, and there has been a pandemic in the last year and a half, which has accelerated some of these trends to really digitize the store for better efficiency of their operations and also the best-in-class shopper experience, as much as you would see from an e-commerce site. Now, if I had to contrast this with e-commerce and a brick and mortar, when you log into an e-commerce site, you are welcomed with your name. It is personalized to you. They know the shopping history or the order history in the past. They know people like you will order something similar, and similarly they know your taste and really your profile of a shopper ready to go as soon as you log in. Now contrast that with the store. These remain challenges and gaps today. You are pretty much a stranger, and also the operational efficiencies don't have an accuracy to pinpoint where my goods are and are they ready at any given point in time. And that's the reason in the last few years, we are seeing lots of sensors being placed in the brick and mortar stores, retail, and food services included. There are RFID readers now, there is cameras, the computer vision use cases that Hauke talked about, there are Bluetooth beacons, and there are really a variety of these sensors all over the stores. And they are trying to solve inventory management, food storage, or the freshness timer, automatic reordering, customer engagement, or personalization. The challenge, though, has been that these systems have been based on cloud. And as one or two or three ISVs or solution providers solve these problems, these data points remain in their silos. And on top of that, there is cloud lock-in or connectivity issues or data privacy issues as you are sending this data to be processed elsewhere. And that's the promise of edge compute. However, there are lots of challenges here today because simply there is multiple computes in the store solving each of these use cases. And there is a variety of sensors that it becomes very difficult for ISVs to integrate point by point. And essentially you end up, creating custom solutions store to store or, food or retailer store to store or the corporate level itself. Plus they lack the global ability to support this, serve this, the care packs, and all the break fix services, as well as updates to these systems. And that's where we think companies like HP, we have a responsibility to play our role and offer something that's ready to go, a ready edge compute that not only solves the seamless data ingestion from a variety of these sources or the sensors, but also creates some actionable insights with the requisite tools, all inclusive in the solution. And that's what I'm going to talk about from HP's point of view. This market, the problem space that Hauke described, we look at it as is a huge problem space. If you look at the last year IT spend, which is actually increasing since the pandemic, has been $19 billion. And the top 5 use cases, if you break it down, are starting with inventory management. As you can imagine, that's the highest piece of the problem statement here, because 10% of the retail is simply distortion. It's wasted because they cannot locate it. It is followed by loss prevention, workforce management, promotion effectiveness, and so on. And all of these use cases, the good news is that they have the similar template in terms of Internet of Things. There are sensors tracking these things, RFID camera or others. And there is a way to process that with some AI and ML models and engines. And that technology is really well timed. It's ready to go. So it's a great inflection point that we are witnessing post-pandemic, that we can deploy these technologies and make them much more efficient, make them much more personalized. We looked at the surveys in this space last year from IHL, which is one of the prominent analysts in this space. And if you look at on the list of the priorities here in that red box, it does start with those personalizing customer experience, inventory visibility, and you can go through the list. Increasing the loyalty, supporting the associates, empower them with some data points so they can take action real time on site without waiting for the cloud round trip processing. Now, where is the spending going? You can see on the right side in that red circle at the bottom, edge computing is a prominent share of that spending. It's in the last 2 years, just 24 months, 460% increase in the spending plans. So there is a great realization across the board here that edge is here to solve some promising, bring in some promising solutions. This is a comment from President of IHL Group, Greg. He said edge computing is at the store and restaurant level. It's one of the highest growth technology areas. Like I mentioned, 460% growth just in the last 2 years, and that's continued to grow. We want to talk a little bit about how we look at this space as a solution provider and why we chose EdgeX as a data ingestion engine or a framework that can bring all these sensory data points together such that ISVs like Prestiges can just focus on creating those great actionable insights and don't spend time in building custom solutions. The reason we looked into edge solutions because it was just no-brainer for us. HP has been around for 80 years, leader in Silicon Valley and technology and computing in general. And this technology has a great promise, like we just looked at. We want to leverage our strengths here. We are #1 provider of point of sale solutions across the board in retail and hospitality. We have a great vantage point to understand these pain points very closely. We have a portfolio of all-in-one, as we call it, for point of sale. We have convertible products where you can dock and undock these point of sale tablets and serve the customers in the aisle in the retail environment or at the table in a QSR, quick serve, or food and beverage. We also have great modular compute based on latest and greatest from Intel, our partner here. Really pick your form factor and the performance, and these are all purpose built for retail. These are not single purpose or general purpose hardware. These are designed for IP rating, for the harsh environments in retail and hospitality, where you could expect water spill or beverage spill, or there are dust issues. So all of these are designed to withstand that environment. We have great peripherals. We have cloud solutions. And now with all the potential of edge, we are building on top of that modular portfolio that we have and adding these software stacks to make it as easy as 1, 2, 3 to get these data points into a single solution, process on it, and create those actionable insights in store. To summarize here, we talked about the edge promise for latency, low latency, or privacy, security issues, resolved very, much more under the control of the store. But these are hard to implement, right? I mentioned variety of computes and sensor types, and ends up being a custom solution pretty much every single time. And we believe that we can build on our portfolio with our global footprint, our service coverage, but also Linux Foundation has done this, EdgeX framework with about 2 or 3 dozen big companies coming together, that everyone has realized we need some standards, we need some interop here. IoT is a super fragmented space, and EdgeX as a framework does give us that opportunity to build something ready to go, such that all these data points from a variety of sensors not only come together, but we can make them scalable. We can make them extensible, start with one use case or one sensor type, and you continue building on that. And that's why we looked at this space so closely. That's why we worked with EdgeX. Now, a quick word on EdgeX framework itself. If you look at what is happening today in the last couple of years under the name of Edge, there are a lot of single vendor or proprietary solutions coming in. And again, the customization issues remain. The retailer or hospitality CIOs, they have a challenge. If they want to update the sensors or analytics engines or use cases, they are completely at the mercy of the single vendor. But on top of that, there is no industry collaboration. So every time you need to figure out if you want to integrate any of these pieces on top, it becomes a different project. The promise of EdgeX here is that the industry is coming together for writing these standards, creating that interoperable framework in a vendor neutral way, right? The whole objective here from Linux Foundation's perspective is to build that ecosystem. And that's partly, why Intel also has Open Retail Initiative, ORI, to unify this ecosystem, to accelerate the deployment of IoT from technology and business standpoint. And that should give the freedom to CIOs to upgrade their components, sensors, analytics engines, or use cases. And there is a proof here, right? By last May, 6 million downloads already. And this is just in a probably 18 months time space since EdgeX came out as a framework. So there is a lot of excitement around this. And that is why we decided to go with this. Now, I mentioned about using these enablers to accelerate edge solutions. We already have a product in this space, just as an example, to accelerate your edge solutions. We started with one of the hardware computes from our portfolio, and there are a variety of options there, as I mentioned. And we have combined that with preloaded data ingestion software, right? And this is based on Linux Foundation's EdgeX. We are able to enable any and all of these use cases that we talked about. You can do inventory management, theft detection, or promotion effectiveness by using computer vision, RFID, and variety of sensors, the icons at the bottom here, which are all pre-installed. So ISVs can just use the solutions like this. We are also building AI, ML, and data science tools, so it becomes much more seamless. Just get these data points, process them, focus on the insights, and accelerate these edge solutions. Now, Intel has already certified this solution as an RFP ready kit. So it becomes even more seamless with Intel's platform and their software hub to build it very quickly, because a lot of things are standardized and very well documented with the collaboration across the industry. It's called RRK, RFP ready kit. A lot of common sensors that we talked about are supported out of the box. We back it up with our world-class services and care packs. And really, this is the first retail product powered by EdgeX as an example of what an acceleration like this could do. The use cases here could be across the board, loss prevention or inventory or engagement. You see the whole list here. Could be just a recipe, right? You just look at which sensor it is, make sure that is integrated in the EdgeX. For the most part, these are all ready to go. And then you, on top of that, you build the ISV insights to act on and make it a single pane of glass, like Hauke was talking about, to manage them from a single source. Now let's look at some of the detailed examples here that we have come across, both in retail and hospitality. So we have cameras in the first use case here, monitoring the shelves or monitoring the containers and looking at the replenishment need and quickly alert in real time on the smartwatch of the associate in the store. Second one, bottom of the basket, if you're skipping the scan or associate is missing, scanning something, there is a camera down there that's monitoring what's happening and alerting the associate. Third one, RFID reader on the wall is able to take stock in a real time what's on the shelf. And again, this could be camera or RFID. And the last one on the right here, in a drive-through, which has become a huge spike. People are buying food in the drive-throughs and social distancing norms and the stores closing. So this has become really critical now to improve the experience of the customer. So they don't have to wait in line too long. The cameras are monitoring cars coming in. As soon as the threshold is crossed, 3 or 4 cars, somebody goes out with a tablet to take the orders, but also the cameras know who is in the car, just high-level demographics. So the menu, the upsell menu, does customize to who is coming into that drive-through before they get there. Now, let's look at one quick case study here. We talked a lot about cameras, but let's see what an RFID-based inventory management could do in a food service industry. And this is, for the most part, a workflow transformation across the board, right? This is, if you look at the top part of this slide, before or even today, a lot of these QSRs, handling the inventory manually. There are, boxes for meat patties or something that has to have a freshness timer attached. They are being offloaded throughout the day. Some of them move to the kitchen and somebody scans the barcode on the box. The box gets opened, has to be used in a certain time frame till the goods are sold, and somebody manually takes stock and does the reordering. Now, as you can imagine, in a QSR, there is a lot of young talent, doing this work. There is a churn. There are training issues. There are manual error issues, and still a lot of wastage happens because you could not use those meat patties in time, or they were just not consumed or baked, to the example that was previously discussed, to the customer satisfaction. Now, the transformation story here could be that all of these boxes come in with an RFID tag. And as they move through the store, you can see the picture in the middle bottom there. These RFID readers on the wall could track that. As these boxes move from entry to storage to the kitchen area or the service area, the freshness timer is tracked and alerted to the associates that are managing this. But also, these data points, they're all digital now, right? As they get digitized, they could be integrated into the reordering system. So your inventory management and reordering could be completely automated by using the sensors, IoT, and a ready edge compute like the one I talked about. And again, this is just one template. You can imagine a lot more use cases by using a different sensor or a different metric. So let me just quickly summarize the value prop of the solutions like this, right? The one that I described is, powered by EdgeX. It's the world's first solution, but the idea here is to build something for that, the demands of retail and And food and service industry, it has to be ruggedized. It comes preloaded with the data ingestion software. It has a choice of hardware, compute, and of course, the global warranty and service. It is really targeted to retail, hospitality, and other industry operators to manage business metrics like this in a real-time way, on-site way, really empowering those associates to take decisions based on all the data streams that are brought to them. And of course, there is no cloud lock-in or latency or privacy issues. It's all happening on your premises. So it's quite simply the focus here is to accelerate these solutions, to solve some critical problems, to avoid custom implementations, which is good for everyone. It does reduce the cost, and the interoperability and standards is a great thing in general for really make sure that there is a level playing field for everyone, but also a lot of the busy work is adding to the cost unnecessarily, and it frees people to focus on their own core competencies. I'm going to summarize by saying edge is full of possibilities, right? Food services, it is primed for disruption. Edge, AI technologies, all the enablers, and the software, analytics, AI, ML, it's coming together really at the right time to solve these current challenges. And I'm going to invite you all to, join us. Let's accelerate the future. I'm going to hand it off to Gray to summarize, his thoughts and also take us into an active Q&A. Gray?
Thanks a lot, guys. That's an amazing walkthrough and overview of some of the future things that have been developing for quite some time, but actually have some very immediate applicability. If you listen to the popular press, what they say is, what COVID really did in the retail IT world is it accelerated IT innovation probably 5 years, because people had to figure out a lot of things. And today we're facing this classical problem, which is labor shortages. And what we're seeing here is a lot of managerial stuff that has the potential to be automated by machine learning and by visual inputs and by other sensors that are out there that actually will allow our managers and our assistant managers and even our cashiers and associates to free up time from some of this laborious, what I call life-sucking jobs that we have to do, and actually start interfacing with consumers, which is probably the most important thing that a convenience store can do. Have you guys had any type of feedback from retailers on what kind of labor savings or what kind of labor shifting we can see from going to say a back office automated check-in solution to something that's highly automated by IoT? Any kind of feedback on that?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in. So great, that's a great question. We are seeing some early feedback. There are case studies on TCO being planned, so I don't have the exact numbers to compare yet, but we do see a lot of potential of creating all the, digitizing all these data streams into a single cohesive pane that will give dividends later on. They are able to imagine new use cases. They were not able to, do the mashup of the demand and supply like the way they are doing it now. So a lot of these are intangibles right now, but we are seeing more than 2x ROI for some of the existing here and now use cases already.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you brought up, we talked about EdgeX, and I didn't know anything about EdgeX until Kristen actually invited us to participate in some of these calls. And EdgeX and what's happening in the World Wide Web Consortium with Web of Things, these are two external organizations that are very dedicated in bringing order to the whole IoT workspace. There is a sensor for everything. Linda Toth and I talked to a company in Czechoslovakia 2 years ago that would actually tell you if you have a clean bathroom. The problem you have is they all have different protocols, different levels of security, and so these are two important organizations that Conexxus is working with to make sure that when it comes time for you to measure something, it's not going to be a denial of service attack source engine, and it's going to quickly integrate into your platform. And that's the other thing that brought me to the HP side of it, which is I think hybrid cloud is really fits well into our industry. Everybody said, let's go to the cloud. We want to do unified commerce. The only way to do that is in the cloud. we really kind of believe that, you know, some days it's really sunny and the cloud doesn't work. And so what we really need to do is have that capability in the short haul, but we also don't want to be pushing a lot of computation up to a cloud that could actually be done better in the store with a lot less latency. And the whole idea of being able to push some of your AI edge and machine learning edge and deep analytics edge down so that, you know, Hauke's system doesn't have to go up to the cloud to start recognizing things. It's being recognized right there in the store. That's a real powerful combination. Only the things that need to go to the cloud, and if you're cut off from the cloud, your store is still operational. I thought that's a real foundational architectural change that we should be embracing.
I can only second that, Greg. We firmly believe that the cloud has a very important role in rolling out IoT applications. It serves as the management platform, for example, to drive out new AI agents to the edge, but the edge shall not be neglected. We cannot rely entirely on the cloud for the obvious reasons quoted. And in the end, the cloud computing builds, they're not free neither. So even the monetary aspect cannot be neglected.
Well, and just the simple boxes. I have nightmares where we now have racks of Arduino servers in the backs of our stores. Yes, they've gotten smaller, but every time we put a new feature in a store, it tends to come along with a black box that goes in. And then we have a PCI nightmare, which is, okay, is it getting unsolicited messaging from outside of the network, or is it just doing heartbeats all the time? And how do you coordinate that stuff? And so I think this whole unified approach is saying, look, I can put Kubernetes segments in here and use one or two boxes, depending on if I want belt and suspenders. And I can manage that entire infrastructure. And now I'm not relying on my router. I've got this smart system down there that's allowing me to expand, add new features, and they're plug-in, they're using my existing networking, and I can manage that one internet connection back to my cloud. I think it's brilliant. The other observation I had, which is kind of personal, I have two kids who are going to start working in the convenience store industry within a month, and they got hired by Texas Born, which is NAC's chairman's shop, and they're going to be working in the kitchen. And I was really concerned about two kids who can't even make macaroni and cheese going into a full production kitchen and trying to figure out how to actually make menued meals. And I'm going to talk to Kevin about this because this could save me a lot of embarrassment, having a press-to-taste system in there.
I remember working in the kitchen way back in the day, and one of the problems I had, and Hauke, you brought this up, I had to convince my new bakery manager that hot dogs needed to go on the grill at 8 a.m. They're like, no one eats hot dogs at 8 a.m. Actually, they do. That's some people's dinners. That's some people's, that's their liking. And that was me looking at the numbers and digging in. So having that knowledge, just be able to, whether I'm there or not there, I think that's a powerful message that IoT can bring, but it's very unique. I can't say it's unique in the C-store space, right? It's a struggle to always, how do you give the knowledge? How do you pass that down? And being able to put that into one, panel so anyone can see it, I think is really powerful. So, so there's just so much content that we just covered and so much complexity. And Gray, you talked a little bit about, the open source and open standards. Sandeep, you mentioned EdgeX. Gray, you mentioned EdgeX, but Gray, that's what Conexxus is all about the open standards. Sandeep, can you talk just a little bit about the community that you're a part of? I don't know if EdgeX is the only one, but what is that community doing to really help accelerate and simplify this very complex edge building blocks?
Sure. Yeah, I think as we all know too well, IoT is an extremely fragmented space, right? So much so that it's coming in its own way of progress for the last few years. And there are just dozens of protocols for a variety of sensors, like I talked about, and each one has its pros and cons. So we cannot say, I don't need this kind of protocol. They are needed. But it's hard to expect that one day all of these will magically merge into one massive protocol either, right? That's lightweight and open and usable. So fortunately, the industry, both big and small brands, realize this is not going to be sustainable and it's not going to change on its own, right? And that is why there are other efforts, but in this case, under the Linux Foundation Edge, these companies came together to build the EdgeX framework that I talked about, which handles any and all of these protocols. And as long as we are complying to this framework as building our own products, we can focus on our own core competencies and do less of the busy work or something that adds cost and doesn't help anybody. Everybody has to do it. But more importantly, focus on creating the value for our customers and push our industry forward, which is really what all of us want to do. And there is a joke in the standards industry that whenever someone gets fragmented and frustrated with all this fragmentation, too many standards, they come up with yet one more standard, right? So in this case, they are not creating another standard. They are simply providing a living, breathing framework that will continue, including the new protocols that we don't know yet, right? And that's why we are part of this. And I'm sure there are other efforts. They're all well-meaning, and as long as we consolidate and make it all cohesive, it's Internet of Things are loaded words. Internet of whose internet? Is it the big platforms? Is it Google's? Is it Facebook's? Is it Amazon's? Which thing? What language that thing speaks, right? So it's essential that we have some common language here.
I have a follow-on question for Sandeep, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sandeep, you mentioned HP's Engage Edge product, and most of our stores use a managed network service provider. We have MNSPs in the store. I'm wondering, what is your relationship with those guys, or do you have them so that things like HP Edge could appear in a store without stumbling over too many territorial boundaries?
Could you, so David, could you name a couple names just so that I have a context? Who are you referring to?
Well, I think Hughes does it. I think Cybera does it. Acumera, Gray, are there others?
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we are still early, so we are exploring all of those models, David. We, this space is so new that gives us an opportunity for us to go beyond point of sale and the modular portfolio that I just showed, but enter and build this new ecosystem. So we are open to any and all of those opportunities. In fact, as we just saw, as a part of this, coming together to build these new frameworks, and with Intel, we are getting, introduced and matchmake with a lot of different partners, and new business models are emerging, all the way up to a managed service from one-stop shop that we can manage your inventory and manage that one single metric. And maybe once you see some results, we add customer engagement as another metric or supply chain as another metric. So we absolutely need to explore all of these options, and we are open to all of that.
Hey, I've got a question for Hauke, by the way. When I looked at your automation examples across, how much of that processing for the AI, the recognition and the workflow management is happening at the store versus at a central location? Is it all segmented down to a store, or is it a hybrid type of environment?
It's a hybrid environment where the cloud has the role to ensure the federated learning. We want to make sure that learnings from one location will benefit the others as well. So we have all the processing on the edge of the models, and then certain outliers are being uploaded to transfer learning from one location to the next, and to ensure that, for example, if you in the QSR realm, time-limited offers, LTOs, are always tested in one region first. So when they're new to the system, then the system reacts to them in a less efficient way. But due to the fact that the training will benefit all of them, the first 3-4 restaurants to get it will make sure that the others do not have a problem recognizing these items and making sure that their quality is up to standards.
So you're doing your training up in the cloud, and so every new chain you add that sells croissants, you're actually getting better at recognizing croissants because of
exactly. That's the beauty of AI. They always say AI is overestimated in the short run, but underestimated in the long run. At first, the system is primitive, it's stupid, but in the first days where it trains, it gets better and better and better. And the beauty of it is it just doesn't stop getting better. It will improve with every data that is fed to it.
And that's an interesting concept, because as we move to more AI visual checkout, there are some other companies now that are saying, I'm not even reading the barcode. I can recognize what's sitting there. I think that confederated machine learning and machine training is really critical to increasing the efficacy of this thing.
Yes, and the other big saying we have in our company, everything that the human eye can see, the computer can see as well. So if it is possible for a human operator to see what a customer shops in the store, then it is possible for the AI to see that and to track that person and to make sure that contactless shopping is possible in this environment. So it's not there yet. It's only in very confined environments, like, for example, the Amazon Go store. But this is the reality that will hit a good percentage of the stores, especially at night hours, etc.
Yeah.
I have a question. Sandeep made a statement that you can upsell based on demographics for what the camera sees. Are there any regulatory guardrails on that, or has anyone objected? I mean, it's a little different having a machine judge who a person is rather than another person. You know, you can't really find fault with a person for reading somebody's demographics, but people might get upset about a machine. Has that come up at all?
That's a huge topic, not only for us, but for the industry in general, like the AI, the bias, and, you know, the legal sensitivities. There is GDPR. There are countries considering new regulation who are not yet, you know, fully regulated here. So that's really a, you know, data privacy landmine, and we want to be very, very careful, privacy respecting for the shoppers there. So I want to clarify my comment. The demographic was more of a possibility based on, you know, there is a differential privacy concept. You don't have to have personally identifiable data or something that pinpoints the location or the preferences, but you could still, respecting all the privacy, you could do the demographic at a very high level, right? A male in their 40s or a female in, you know, in a minivan, and you know, there are use cases for that. Which type of user would respond to which type of menus on the board? So you see, you know, a soccer mom at 5 p.m. This is a use case that is often talked about. You better show them hot cocoa or, you know, ice cream scoops, because there will be kids in that minivan. So that is, you know, still at a super high level. There are countries, mostly in Asia, where this is even going further, because the user opts in with their facial recognition. There are countries where facial recognition is completely accepted, and then it gets super personalized there. But we want to be really, you know, sure about respecting the shopper preferences in this case.
Yeah, and I think that's where, you know, engaging your AI model is important, because you can actually, there are AI models that block the face so that you actually don't even ingest that data. It's, you know, it's all about how, you know, what the business requirements are. If you're part of a loyalty program, you've opted in to say, yeah, when I drive up, I want you to know who I am, because I want to just order the same thing. I know my preferences. I want whatever it is that I've ordered, and it makes my life easier. So it's really an exchange between the user and the business, and what that privacy means to them. But all of that needs to be available when you're looking at a computer vision model.
Yeah, I think that, you know, what it is the governance side, right? Because you listen to some of the MIT conversations about AI. We shouldn't always do it because we can.
Right.
Sometimes we shouldn't be doing it because we can. And I think to David's point, where we start making adjudications about creditworthiness, you know, making attributes based off of racial profiling, that's where it's most tenuous. But, you know, Sandeep's example of, hey, look, how many 45-year-old guys do I have walking in? How many of them are white? How many of them are Oriental or Asian? You know, that's just really doing what we do today with a lot of bad data, which is we think this is what we have. And as long, to Kristen's point, as long as we can anonymize it and data governance it with ethics, it's a very, very powerful tool. And then where a customer wants to opt in, you can ask them anything. They can always choose to refuse. That's where we really run into a problem, is where you don't ask them and tell them everything you're going to be doing.
Yeah, That is where it's really important. We have about 5 minutes, and I wanted to just cover a couple of other things, just around the AI as well, because I'm sure that, because AI is new and computer vision models might be new. Can you talk a little bit about your modeling and overcoming some of the difficulties around AI modeling and how you've overcome those?
Absolutely. This is a topic I can and would love to talk about for days. But in short, we rely on sensors, on, in most cases, ordinary web cameras or three-dimensional cameras to give us a visual representation of the surroundings for the computer to run a Vision AI model on. That means we digitalize inputs. We see how many hot dogs are lying there. We see how many patties are lying there. And we know when they've been placed there, so we know how fresh they still are. And we utilize that information for the perfect production planning. A challenge in this is it's a hostile environment that we bring sensors to. There is temperature, there is steam, there is grease, because we're next to the production of the food. And this is something that we've spent quite some time on perfecting, bringing very small and very cost-effective vision sensing to the edge so that the system has digital information. And as soon as the information is digitalized, we all know that computers are great at optimizing mathematical models and just getting that perfection between if you produce something, if you don't sell it, it either becomes waste or it becomes old. So the only way to optimize is to make sure you're only producing the right thing. And you've said it before, in the kitchen, making hot dogs in the morning at 8 o'clock, it's something really weird. But it is a demand for that. It's just a computer is way, way much better, and a prediction model is way better at estimating the demand and not just working on gut feel. So you make the right amount of hot dogs in the morning and the right amount of croissants in the evening.
Maybe one of the important things is being able to have your computer vision measure how many disappointed customers look at an empty roller grill at 7:30 in the morning.
That's a lost sales opportunity.
How many walked out? Yeah. So one of the,
especially fresh food as a frequency driver. Fresh food is what brings customers in. The smell of a good croissant, independent of how much you really make with on a single croissant. But the customer that comes in and smells the croissant is very likely to order a coffee with it as well. And come in the next morning to get his coffee there and the fresh croissant.
All right, we got 2 minutes left. Any last words on how this technology coming together really justifies the business use case, the return on investment? Gray, do you want to take that? Hauke? Who wants to take that?
We do have a question.
I know that's kind of around that question. So,
okay,
what's the business justification and of all of this technology? How can it support the business?
From my side, the ROI must always be there. That's true for all of our restaurant customers. If the system does not pay for itself in a test location, it doesn't go to more locations. And the return comes from a growth in sale, because as you just mentioned, an empty hot dog rack, that's a lost sales opportunity. You are losing revenue to that. Second, comes through optimization of labor, making sure that a very small team, a crew, maybe even just one person, can do a lot of things at the same time by a system that intelligently says, please do that now. And then you can go to another station again and do something else. You can work the cashier. You don't need to work on this part anymore. And that is big. And the third one, food waste. There's so much wastage, and wastage is not just the raw material, it's the work that went into preparing this. So we all know that crews are stretched, that any work that that gets placed on them additionally is taking time that they should have for something else. So you're not just throwing away a hot dog bun or a hot dog at the end of the day, you're throwing away the valuable labor of the team. And that is what justifies investing in modern technology to manage food production better.
We're at the top of the hour. We've got what to bake, when to bake it, and all of the things that it takes to connect the systems together. So Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to the next time.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Chris.